Manoj, thank you very much for speaking with us. So, first question, how did the two of you come together on this deal? What were you looking for? What was Reliance Communications looking for?
We at GTL have always been looking for scale. And the scale had to have two things. One is more towers, and more importantly, tenants on those towers, because just buying towers without tenants makes no sense. At the same time, we wanted that when we get into the towers or tenants, we have an arrangement that probably ensures neutrality, which means that we don't want telecom operator to be a shareholder in such a transaction. Third important thing was that if the transaction was large, you are able to do business which is cash and stock that allows other people to participate in his upside, but at the same time not have telecom operator, as I said earlier. On the other hand, I think what they wanted was very clearly for RCom, the costs have to be cut, which means that operation and management costs, energy management costs, recurring maintenance costs, and that with the 3G win that they have had, they want access to more towers in areas like the south, east of India, etc., where Aircel asset was very handy and useful. At the same time, they wanted that doing any transaction with somebody else ensures neutrality, because that is in their long-term strategic interest. Another important thing with them was, can they trust such a partner who can then be, work together with them on reduction of this cost issue. Because when you pass on your towers, you actually pass on the responsibility of maintenance, etc., to another company. And the most important thing, as I saw, was Mr. Ambani very clearly wanted to unlock value for his shareholders, because by listing those shares through a merger into our company allows him to unlock value. So on many counts, it was a win-win. For both sides. Or it is a win-win.
Right. So it's been called a 50,000 crore deal by both sides again. Now, how is it adding up? Could you just take us through the...
although valuation is yet to be done, is relatively straightforward arithmetic. You know that we've done the Aircel transaction at about 35 lakhs a tenant. The company of this magnitude that's getting created, including the tenants we have, will have close to about 85,000 towers and close to about 125,000 paying tenants from day one. 85,000 of those tenants would come from RCom and the users of their network. The consequence of that is that if you add that up at 35 lakhs, I'm not saying that's the value, but it's just a straightforward thing, you get a certain number. And then there is a ROFR, right of first refusal. Aircel, as you know, had given us 20,000 ROFR, which is properly accounted for and guaranteed, and similarly RCom has a need from a right of first refusal standpoint, whereby they will compulsorily provide over a 5-year period 50 to 60,000 ROFRs, and when you conservatively say that 75,000, the number adds up to about 11 billion in value. That could be potentially much more value based on equity value created. There could be more users, as we talk to that we are talking to, who will get added on to the network, but we are sort of freezing that value at our level rather than keeping on enhancing it constantly, so that is fair to both the parties.
So can you give us a sense of what the control and shareholding agreements or pre-agreements are as they stand today?
Very clearly the merger into GTL infrastructure essentially means that the current management continues, and we'll expand the management team as required. We will acquire towers and employees from Aircel. We'll acquire towers and employees from Reliance infrastructure. We will continue to basically be a neutral and independent company, meaning that no operator will have either a shareholding and or management control there. So the neutrality and independence is guaranteed. Going back to shareholding, I think we are in the process of completing the valuation on the basis of how many towers and tenants and the due diligence related thereto, and that will result into basically arriving at the debt and equity that we have to exchange. Very clearly in a merger process, as you know, you either pay by way of shares or you pay by way of shares and cash. This is a transaction that will pay by way of shares and cash. You would have to wait a little bit to get to know those ratios, because at this moment we are in the process of appointing those valuers who can assist us, both investment bankers as well as independent valuers, with the whole process.
Okay. So analysts are also wondering how you're going to be funding this entire transaction, because if Reliance Communications wants cash, and I think there are estimates about how much cash is likely to go to them.
I think analysts have to keep in mind that you don't get into a transaction like this on our side or on the side of the other party unless you are fairly clear that, one, the transaction is underwritten in terms of the maximum amount of money that may be required, and two, you're fairly certain that the party that is ourselves, have the ability to pay that money and has access to necessary cash. That's what I can say. We have Standard Chartered Bank as banker on the deal. We have SBI Cap who are also working together with them. I think they have the mandate to close in and have, basically assured us, and we have relatively very clear-cut financing plan that's underwritten already.
Right. So what are the terms like? I mean, this is more a corporate finance question of when you raise debt at a time like this.
Very clearly, we're not looking for any short-term kind of loans or bridge loans. That's not what we are looking for. What we are acquiring, you have to understand, is close to about 125,000 paying tenants when you gather all the assets together under one roof, including ASL and R-Infratel. You have a potential revenue starting immediately with about 6,000 odd crores in the year one.
You said towers have a almost infinite lifetime. Does it include everything that's within the tower or in and around the tower, the equipment?
Well, not really. You have the energy plant and you have the batteries, and we are in the process of moving towards green towers, so which means that at GTL we are, as you know, we have launched an ambition 2,500 crore plan to convert most of those diesel generating sets into green towers, etc. But the fact is, for that you get paid separately, other than the rental, from the telecom operators by way of what you call
rising
energy
fuel
cost.
Doesn't necessarily affect you.
No, we are not absorbing the fuel costs at all. Those fuel costs are passed on to the operators. We are sort of very clear that all the pass-through telecom operators pay for. That's the industry model globally, and that's how it will be here.
Most of your clients, I would imagine, are GSM operators. Now, Reliance is CDMA. Now, is there a conflict of technologies because of this at all?
No, towers are technology agnostic. They don't really care. They're like buildings, if you like. Towers are a steel structure that's standing there with some power plant next to it. And whether you are GSM, CDMA, BWA, 3G, 4G, 2G, it doesn't really matter. The towers that we have on the ground are as it is sharing among CDMA and GSM players. So there's no problem at all.
Right. So, what's the kind of growth that you see for the tower business itself? The reason I'm asking is, and a layman's question, telecom companies are getting rid of this business. And there's a reason for it, because they want to either go up the value chain or invest in high-speed networks and so on. What then is the opportunity for the person who is picking up this asset, which is important, but not something that the telecom operator wants to hold on to?
The growth of the tower industry is going to depend on 3-4 things. Operators will come to a neutral tower company. So first of all, whether the tower company is neutral or independent or not matters, because the operator is sharing a lot of details with the tower company, and he has to feel comfortable that this company is indeed neutral. The second thing is the operator is coming to a tower company because a tower company can have lower capex, opex costs. So he wants to see a tower company that's focused hugely towards reducing his energy bills, particularly in a country like India, where almost 70 to 80% of the area, although we are electrified, has power failure. So what's going to matter is that, is your partner really focused on things like energy? Is your partner focused on lowering the O&M costs? Because they are pass-through costs, they are operators' costs. He wants to see them reduce. Third thing is the value of the tower company is going to go up on the basis of his usage. So capacity matters. Does the network have capacity? Fourth thing is how many tenants use it. In our case, for example, in India, largely, we have an average tenancy that's between 1.6 to 1.9 now. The moment that tenancy crosses 2, your break-even point is reached, and the moment it crosses 3, it starts throwing a lot of cash flow out. So I think that what's going to happen, in my opinion, is that because of the BWA and 3G, where operators have paid close to $25 billion to the government in license fees, they would have a choice of spending another 50 to 70 billion on capex, or use infrastructure, not just towers, but even active that's shared. That means that you will see Indian companies, tower companies, tenancies zooming through to 3 to 4 for those companies that can represent all those qualities that I have just spoken about. So, we would sort of aim to get a tenancy of about 3, and would do anything and everything that's required to be able to get there in the shortest possible time.
So let me put the question differently as well. So overall mobile subscriber base is, let's say 500 million and thereabouts, and growing. Now that growth is likely to slow down, and the revenue as an aggregate may or may not rise, at least for the majority. And of course there is a small part which will continue to rise. What does this mean? I mean, do we have enough telecom towers already? Will growth be through acquisitions or mergers like this one, or will it come through fundamentally other opportunities?
It means